Welcome to the handover video for the Weinsberg CaraBus 600k rent. We'll start the tour on the outside of the vehicle. Coming down the driver's side, you'll find the access door to the interior. We'll step in shortly. Carrying down the side of the van is the fill point for the freshwater tank. You get two keys with your Weinsberg. The Fiat key, which has everything to do with the operation of the vehicle from a driving perspective, and you have the Weinsberg key, which will unlock the freshwater cap. Clearly marked water, please be careful not to put diesel in there. And then we continue round to the rear of the vehicle. On the rear bumper you will see the reversing sensors, and on the Fiat key, three buttons, one in the middle which locks the vehicle completely, the one at the top which opens the cab doors, and the one at the bottom opens the side and rear doors. Now that the rear door is open, we can open the door and look inside the vehicle. We've prepared the inside of the vehicle for this video tour. When you come to collect the vehicle, it will be an awful lot tidier than this. So we'll start on the right hand side, which is where your fresh water tank is. After you've filled it from the outside, you'll see underneath these two inspection hatches there are two red screw-in inspection caps to get into the freshwater tank, which will give you access to the tank if for any reason you need to clean it. It's best to leave that to technicians. They also will use this as access to get to the water pump, which is inside the tank should there ever be at any point in the future an issue with the water pump. This is the drain valve for the freshwater tank. Clockwise closes the valve. If you open the valve anti-clockwise, you may hear in the background water starting to drain out of the tank. And that's how you drain the tank come the winter months if you're doing a winter drain down. Also in the back, while we're here, I'll just show you the location of the light switch for the roof light in the rear of the vehicle, and also a USB charging point for your phone at night. Down below where the bed will be, there's a little cubby hole, storage space. Over on the other side here, you see the space where your battery is housed. Again, you shouldn't have to go anywhere near that during the lifetime of the vehicle. Just leave that to technicians to check when you're having a habitation service done. Then we have above the battery the main control boxes for the electrics of the vehicle. Inside here you'll find all the spade fuses. Individual items have a spade fuse. It's difficult to hold a camera and lift the lid at the same time. And inside the instruction manual it will tell you which fuse does which, but also on closer inspection you'll see there are little diagrams that demonstrate there's a 15 amp fuse there for the lights, and there's an auxiliary circuit with a 20 amp fuse. So you just see there's another little symbol there that shows a light above the kitchen area. So you'll see that there are individual fuses for individual items. So the main controller for the charging unit of the vehicle, and over here are your RCD safety trip switches for the 240 volts side of operations inside the vehicle. So if you do find that any of the main sockets, of which there are a few dotted around the vehicle, if you find one of them isn't working, then come back here and check your RCD switches. Also located at the rear of the vehicle is the gas locker. Your new Weinsberg comes with one gas bottle supplied and a single regulator with an up-to-date pigtail, which is the orange pipe connecting the gas bottle to the regulator. To switch the gas bottle on the top of the gas bottle you'll see a brass ring. You turn that anti-clockwise to open the gas bottle. As you turn it anti-clockwise it rises up. Turn it all the way, and when it gets to the end turn it back a quarter turn. You'll also see this is a gas light bottle which has the plastic top end to it, available from Cala. and it also comes with a small indicator valve. This gives you a rough guide to the condition of the gas bottle. It's not 100% accurate, but it's more than enough to let you know when you're getting to the point where you should be thinking about a spare. We do recommend that you buy a second bottle and carry a spare with you. There's nothing more inconvenient than running out of gas and you're miles and miles away from a garage that sells the stuff. So that's the rear of the vehicle. Continuing our tour around the outside, we come to the passenger side of the vehicle, and the first thing we meet on the rear is the electric hookup point. To unplug, you simply push down with your thumb on that lever there while withdrawing the plug with your hand. So it's a simple one-hand operation, although you can use two if you feel more comfortable doing that. The order in which you should plug the vehicle in is always plug into the van first, then take the other end of your cable around to the hookup point on the campsite where you're staying, plug in there, and then switch on the mains. Never plug a live cable into the side of a van. So here we have the cassette toilet hatch. Now, remembering earlier on we spoke about two keys, one for driving the vehicle and one for the leisure side of things. Again, we take the leisure side, pop the key in, give it half a turn, and that will unlock the access hatch. Now, there are magnets in the access door which will hold it safely out of the way while you withdraw the cassette. The cassette withdraws simply with one hand. You see the blue lever catches there. Lift the lever to clear that little catch, withdraw the cassette. If you find for any reason the cassette does not freely come away, go back inside the vehicle and check the lever on the side of the toilet bowl, which opens the hatch from the toilet bowl into the cassette, because if that has been left open or even partially open, it will foul the cassette and you won't be able to draw the cassette out. Now, how does the cassette work? After you've removed the cassette from the inspection hatch and taken it to the disposal point, you remove the cap, and then using this blue button here, release the air pressure and then empty the contents. There's a little bit of water in here from testing. Empty the contents and into the disposal unit. After you've disposed of the contents, a little bit of fresh water in here, rinse the cassette out. And this is the point where, if you're using liquid chemicals, you put in your liquid chemicals using the measuring cap to put in the appropriate dose as detailed on the bottle of your chemicals. Nowadays, you can also get sachets, which are very useful because if they spill inside the van, they don't stain. The chemicals do tend to stain everything that they touch. So, sachet can go in there. You can also drop the sachet down the toilet because it's a dry powder and it won't mark anything until you add some water to it. Now, if you put the sachet or the chemicals in here, add about 1 litre of water, give it a wee mix, that will activate the chemicals. If you drop a sachet down from the inside of the vehicle through the toilet pan, then flush the toilet, put about 1 litre of water in, which will then activate that chemical as well. Once you've done that, return this to the cassette, and then we'll continue our tour of the outside of the vehicle. Immediately below the access hatch to the toilet cassette is the valve for opening and draining your grey water tank. The black pipe is where the water will drain from, so you drive over a soak-away point. That lever simply turns through 45 degrees and that will open the valve and let the water drain out. The gas boiler for heating the air and the interior of the van is located underneath the seats, the rear front-facing seats of the dinette, and the flue for that gas boiler is on the outside of the vehicle below the window of the dinette area. Never block that flue. If you hang anything over the top of there and you block the exhaust, then there's a cutout sensor inside the vehicle which will sense the back pressure and it will switch the boiler off to stop any damage being done or exhaust fumes blowing back into the van. On the subject of exhaust fumes, you'll notice that the boiler exhaust is below a window. Inside the vehicle you will also see a little sensor. And that sensor measures if the window is not closed properly. If the window isn't closed properly, then the boiler once again will not operate. Here's where you'll fill your vehicle with diesel. Once more, remember the key, one for Fiat, one for Weinsberg. The Fiat key is what you use to take the diesel cap off. Simple turn when you're at the petrol station. There is a wee hook. You can hang the cap on while you fill with diesel. Below here you'll also see the AdBlue fill point. AdBlue is an additive that's added to the diesel which will help it burn more efficiently when the vehicle is idling and at low speeds. There is no gauge for AdBlue. All you get is a warning light on the dashboard when AdBlue is running low. But don't panic, when the warning light comes on, it's indicating that you have 1,500 miles to travel before you have to top up. And as long as you top up within the next 1,500 miles, you're okay. AdBlue is available on the forecourt of the majority of petrol stations around the UK. Right, we don't need a mouse trap anymore, wrong time of year. The vehicle battery for your Weinsberg is located underneath this hatch. The protective film will be removed before you collect the vehicle. It makes it a little bit difficult to access the battery should you ever need to jump start the battery, but Fiat very cleverly have put remote posts underneath the bonnet, and I'll show you those in just a moment. Underneath the passenger seat you'll find the toolbox for your vehicle. To remove the toolbox you have to lift this flap off, so as well as unhooking it from the top, you have to lift it out of its catches down there. Lift that out and then you can withdraw the toolbox and change a wheel. Now, most insurance policies for camper vans and motorhomes include roadside assistance, so if you ever do get a flat tyre, it's worthwhile being able to point to the toolbox if someone is changing it for you, but most of the services will come with everything they need to change the wheel, so that in many cases just stays there for the duration of the lifetime of the vehicle. Here is where we open the bonnet. That's the bonnet release catch, and now we'll show you where the fill points are for your various fluids underneath the bonnet. After you've popped the bonnet from the inside, if you put your hand underneath here, you'll feel a little lever. That's that little yellow lever there, and that will allow you to raise the bonnet. There is a bonnet stay that lies along the front of the radiator cowling there. That comes up and gets located into that slot there. On the left hand side of the bonnet you will see a blue cap that covers the entrance to the washer bottle. That's the only thing you'll really need to operate underneath the bonnet. Next to that is the well, this is the coolant, that is the brake fluid, and that is the power steering fluid. To fill all of these, this top section has to be removed by undoing the little catches here. Then this bit lifts out and you can then access the fill points of these. Again, that will be done by technicians at your biannual service. Oil filler point is here, and just below you'll see the dipstick for checking the oil. Now, I said earlier on that the vehicle had a leisure battery that was concealed underneath the floor next to the passenger seat, and down here you'll see the little point there. That is the plus point for connecting for jump starting, and there is the earth point for connecting. So you connect your jump leads there and down there, and that will enable you to start the vehicle should you ever require a jump start. To demonstrate the position of the boiler, we've removed all the cushions from the rear seats of the dinette, the front-facing seats, to give easy access to just show you what we have to show you underneath. So, with the seats removed, you can get easy access to your boiler. Now, you shouldn't really need to go anywhere near your boiler. It's an area reserved for trained technicians, except when you're doing a winter drain down, or if you've been using the vehicle in very cold conditions and your frost protection valve has popped. Now, your frost protection valve is that little black box there with the blue lever on the top. Now the blue lever is currently in line with the white pipe here that you see taking the water into the boiler. If the temperature, the ambient air temperature inside this boiler compartment drops below 3 degrees Celsius, then this little valve will open into the following position. See, the blue valve is now moved through 90 degrees. The boiler will now be drained as the water drains out of the boiler. To stop it, turn it back through 90 degrees, and if you put your hand down the front, you'll feel a little blue button. Push that button in and you have reset the frost protection valve. During a winter drain down, as well as draining the freshwater tank and also draining the grey water tank on the outside, you would open this valve to drain your boilers. You would also switch on the water pump and open both taps until they were just blowing air. At that point, you switch off the water pump, you leave the taps open, as that keeps your circuit open, doesn't allow air pressure to build up, and any residual water will then freeze along the length of the pipes rather than sideways and cause damage. While I'm under here, I'll also show you the position of the gas isolator valves. You've got two, because you have two gas pieces of equipment, your cooker and your boiler. The top one is for the boiler, the bottom one is for the cooker, and there's little labels on both to indicate that. To operate the gas hob, make sure the gas is switched on at the bottle. Turn the gas knob to max, press the igniter button, the gas will light up. Hold the button down for a couple of seconds to allow the thermocouple to warm up. Repeat the process with the other ring, hold it for a few seconds. Now we're running. Some models come with a safety cutout so that you can't close the lid on a naked flame. This one doesn't, so make sure that you switch off the gas completely before closing this lid down, and make sure that this is cooled down as well before you close the lid. You're in danger of shattering the glass if you do not. Gas is a wet fuel. When it burns, it gives off a lot of moisture. That moisture has to go somewhere rather than into the fabric of your vehicle. Make sure you have a window cracked. The roof light in the kitchen is the ideal one. That will allow any moisture that comes off the cooking as well, boiling of water, etc., allows that to escape the van. To operate the taps in the vehicle, make sure that the water pump is switched on the main control panel, and then simply open the tap. Micro switch will start the water pump running and the water will flow from the taps. This is the kitchen. It's just charging the system at the moment, so it's blowing some air through. Once you've completely charged the system, that air will stop, and you'll have a similar arrangement in the bathroom. Again, open the tap, water will flow. The tap in the bathroom also doubles as the shower head. It simply pulls out, there's a gooseneck, and then it clips in to the holder up here. The shower curtain sits in the corner, and when not in use, but when in use, there are press studs that clip into these black receiving points around the top of the bathroom. Your motorhome comes supplied with a 12-volt compressor fridge. It will run all the time that you have it switched on, and the main switch for it and the thermostat is at the back of the unit here. So turn it anti-clockwise all the way, and the final click will switch it off, although the light will still come on when the door opens because it bypasses the control panel and it has a feed automatically from the leisure battery. But if it's switched off, it won't drain the leisure battery. The light will only come on if the door gets opened. So switching the fridge on, setting it at about half, so when you come to collect your vehicle you can put your hand in and feel the fridge is cold, and that will demonstrate that the fridge operates as it should. When the cushions are in place and in use, the rear seats, the front facing seats in the dinette, are adjustable. They can be raked. If I take the cushions off, I can demonstrate how this works. You see some grooves are cut below, and there are some stoppers in the cushion. So, standard position, the seat is back, and if you move the front foot into these three locations, you can adjust the seat to rake it to make it a little bit more comfortable when you're travelling. Just above the door as you enter the vehicle is the main control panel for the vehicle. The 3 buttons down the left hand side indicate levels. The 3 buttons down the right hand side are on-off switches. So let's switch the main power on completely, and if we press this button it'll tell us the condition of the fresh water tank. If we press this button it'll tell us the condition of the vehicle battery. If we press this button it'll tell us the condition of the leisure battery. Leisure battery is showing low at the moment because we've just switched it on to charge to be ready for you when you collect your vehicle. Along the top here this will indicate which button you have pressed and what the reading relates to. When this light comes on it means your grey water tank is needing drained. This is the on-off button for the water pump, and this is the master on-off button for the 12-volt supply of lights. Once you have switched the 12-volt supply of lights on, you can then use the light switches around the vehicle to switch the lights on and off, and also the touch sensitive lights that you have in the reading and the cooking area. Just by touching them will bring them on and off. Beside the main control panel you'll find the control panel for your central heating and your hot water. There are 2 rotating dials, an outer bezel and an inner dial. Now the outer bezel has a little marker point on it, you can see here, which is currently pointing at the 0, which is the off position. If I turn that down to the little flame, that will switch on the heating for the central heating, and then by turning this dial here from 5 through to 1 you can adjust the thermostat and the amount of heat that you'll get in the van. Now, so the green light has come on and you'll see an amber light is flashing here. That amber light indicates the temperature has not been reached yet. If the amber light is on and steady, then you know you have reached the correct ambient temperature. Taking the dial round one more step, you will have central heating controlled from here and hot water at 60 degrees Celsius. If I turn back to this position, everything is off and all the lights go off. Turn it up to this position here, you'll see there's no flame, there's just the little wiggly lines indicating water and a temperature set of 40 degrees. Take it up to here and you get 60 degrees water. There's a delay between switching on and these lights coming on. That's just the lag time it takes for the gas system to light and to ignite. Back to 0. I'll switch the hot water on day of dispatch so that you can see that the system works. To operate the windows in this vehicle, you'll see there are red buttons on the catches. All the red buttons must be pushed in and the catch released. Pushed in and the catch released. There are between 2 and 4 on every single window. Window opens and you'll hear it click, and it will stay in place when you hear a click. To close the window, you push past all the clicks and then the window will come back down again. Never just grab a window from an open position and pull it closed. You will break the mechanism that clicks and holds the windows in place. When travelling, ensure that all windows are firmly closed. From the top of the windows, first comes down a fly screen and then a privacy screen. All the windows that open will have both fly and privacy screens. The front and rear roof lights operate in the same manner. This bar along here pulls down, which releases a catch which allows you to slide the window back along this ratchet run here. It's an awful lot easier to do it with two hands than it is to do it with one while holding a camera. You'll see in the top there's a little catch in there. When travelling, this must be firmly home, otherwise air flow will catch underneath the window and it could rip the window off. So always make sure your windows are secured before travel. Each of the roof lights has both a privacy screen and a fly screen. This is the roof light above the kitchen area, and it's the one that should be open when you are cooking. Finally, we'll have a quick look at the controls in the cab. From the driver's seat, you can adjust the 4 mirrors that you have on the side of the vehicle on the passenger and driver's door. The 4 positions around the joystick indicate which mirror is going to move, and then the top position with a little circle there indicates off. So if I select the first position, that would be the top mirror, and by playing with the joystick you can adjust the position of your mirror. Next position is the bottom mirror on this side. The next position is the bottom mirror over there, and finally the top mirror before returning back once more to 0 and off. Controls for the electric windows, and this is a button to deadlock all the doors when you're inside the vehicle. Obviously not operating now because the passenger door or the habitation door is open. If all the doors are closed, that would switch off. To this side of the steering wheel you'll find controls for your trip meter. So we'll take you through the different modes of the trip meter. The instruction manual explains how to set things like the temperature from Celsius to Fahrenheit, miles to kilometres, and the arrow up and the arrow down allows you to toggle through all those motions while you're changing everything. It will be set to factory standards when you collect the vehicle. Rear fog light and headlamp adjustments are what these buttons are when you are not using the computer modes. When actually driving and you want to set a trip meter, you've got trip A and trip B, standard as in most cars. You just use the button on the side here to toggle through the various trips. This is also the control stick for your windscreen wipers and timing intervals on intermittent. On the steering wheel are controls for volume and for using your telephone through the supplied Pioneer radio that has come with the van, which also contains a USB and an auxiliary point where you can feed in additional bits of music or pop in a little flash drive with some recorded music on it. On this side of the steering wheel there are 2 more stalks. Top stalk is for your lights, bottom stalk is for the cruise control. To use the cruise control, you reach your desired speed, turn this dial which will start the cruise control, and then to activate it you either push up or pull down and that will activate cruise control. Once you're sitting at a speed you can increase increments of 1 mile per hour by just pressing the stick in the plus direction, or reduce by 1 mile an hour by pulling the stick towards the minus. If you push it to plus and hold, speed will continue to climb until you release. To cancel everything, press the button there or put your foot on the brake. Similarly, a maximum speed control setting, so if you are wary of driving around schools or areas where there's a 20 mile an hour speed limit, you can set 20 miles an hour on here and the vehicle will drive up to that speed of 20 miles an hour, and if you cross that you'll hear an audible warning. 6-speed manual box. Moving on to the air conditioning, the outer dial on this side controls temperature, the inner dial controls the fan speed, air conditioning button on and off, outer dial direction of airflow, inner dial is it recycled or is it fresh air coming in from outside. When using the air conditioning, always use the recycled air. It will you'll be chilling already conditioned air, so it won't use as much power. Here we have ASR, which is like an anti-skid mechanism. Always have that on. If you press it and the light comes on, it's switched off. You might get a little bit of slippage going round roundabouts, a bit of wheel spin I should say, sorry, not slippage. But if you're driving on gravel, sometimes you might want to switch that off because it gives you more traction. Obviously hazard warning, deadlock bolts from inside. This will set all the locks on the door, similar to the button on the driver's door. There's no heated rear windscreen, but this will defrost your 2 mirrors. So the original van would have had glass in its back door. You have the opening windows, so that will defrost your mirrors. Here you'll find a USB power takeoff for charging a phone while driving and another 12-volt power socket there. This unit here is from back in the day when the van would have been used as a delivery van, say, whatever the original purpose of the Ducato was. If you lift this up, It gives you a handy little place to place your phone or a tablet that you're using as a sat-nav, and it can sit there above the stereo, or an iPad could sit there with the connection going to the stereo via Bluetooth, and it's just a handy little extra which comes from the original origins of the vehicle. Well, that concludes the tour of your new Weinsberg CaraBus 600k rent. I'm sure that you are going to have many, many happy and memorable adventures in your new van. We're sure that with careful maintenance and usage, you'll get lots of miles and lots of smiles. Thank you once again for choosing Highland Camper Vans, and happy travels.